This conference will now be recorded.
So, hello and welcome to this session 5 webinar from Excel Basement Private Limited. And today in this webinar, I will teach you about what if analysis, which is available in Microsoft Excel. I am Rahim Zulfiqar and I have already introduced myself in previous two webinars. So I will directly jump to the formal exercises regarding the what if analysis. Might be possible that some of you have already used what if analysis features. So what if analysis is available in the data tab, and when you click on data tab, you will be seeing what if analysis feature, which consists of three wonderful features called scenario manager, goal seek, and data table. And one by one, I will try to explain from very basic that how we can utilize these what if analysis features in our reports or models. So first, let me quickly introduce that what if analysis is all about. So what if analysis is basically involves asking questions of the type like what if value changes, and we can use this every day by those professionals or the students who are involved in data analysis and the decision making. Something like what will our profit be if our sales increase, or what will be the future value of an investment but if we increase the annual deposits. So these are some of the common examples of what if questions, and the flexible nature of spreadsheets make them ideal for carrying out what if analysis. And Excel provides a number of tools to simplify the process of dynamic models. So I have seen a lot of professionals, mainly from the finance background or some other backgrounds, they use what if analysis day in, day out in their reports or the models. So we will be starting first with the goal seek. And if you are not familiar with the goal seek, let me introduce what the goal seek is all about. Goal seek, if you have already know the result you require, if you know the what kind of a result you require and want to determine the value that will achieve this result, you can use a goal seek feature. So when setting up a worksheet to use a goal seek, you need to have a formula in one cell, and I will explain you with these two examples right on your screen, as you can see. So we need a formula in one cell and the variable for the formula whose value we want to find, right, in some other cells. So you have
Hello,
other
there is no audio.
formula, but the goal seek can manipulate one variable so that at a time others will remain the constant. And let's begin with the examples first. Okay. So I have two examples. The first one is, for example, we are getting a loan of 1 lakh rupees, and the interest rate is 12%, and the time period is in years, which is 5 years. So first we need to drive a monthly payment, that how much we will be paid to a bank in order to return the loan which we are acquiring today as a present value of 1 lakh rupees. So for getting the monthly payments by an Excel function, we can use the Pmt function, which returns the monthly payments. So this means that if you can look at the function syntax and the arguments of this function, the rate should be monthly basis. The number of periods should be monthly basis, because the Pmt function derives the monthly payments, not the quarterly or the yearly. So if we have the annual rate or the annual time period, we need to convert into a monthly, right? So for the rate, I have the cell which is called B4. I will divide it by 12 because I need to make sure that this rate is on a monthly basis. Next function argument is the number of periods we have. So we have 5 years altogether, and I want to convert it into a monthly basis. So I will be multiplying it by 12. And last but not the least, the present value. The present value is the loan amount which we are taking today from a bank. Okay. And when I close this bracket, I will get the monthly payment information that I need to pay 2,224 rupees every month to make sure that in the next 5 years, with the interest of 12%, I can repay the loan of 1 lakh rupees. So this is a simple function to drive the monthly payments. It's a financial function, okay? But how the goal seek comes in, let me tell you one by one. So we find out that if we take 1 lakh rupees, 12% for the 5 years, we need to pay 2,224, right? But our condition is that we can't pay 2,224. We can pay let's suppose 1500 as a monthly payment. So we know what is our goal. We know the answer first, but we don't know how many times I will change the loan amount to get the monthly payment to 1500 exactly. So I try to do some guesses on the data, like I will change the loan amount, it shrinks down to the 2000. Further, I will decrease the loan amount, it further goes to the 1700. But at this point of time, I am not sure. I know my goal, which is 1500. Okay, I know my goal, which is 1500, but I don't know how many steps would it require to get to that goal. So goal seeks come handy, and we can quickly within seconds find out the
Hello,
answer
there is
with the
no
certain
audio for me.
variables. Okay, so there is some trouble, audio issue. Okay, so the attendees who have receiving my voice very clear, kindly write yes in the chat window so that the participants who are not getting the voice can look at their end. So we have the response in the chat window, and many of the participants are saying yes, this means that my voice is clear. Kindly check your internet connection at your end and reset or rejoin the webinar. Thank you. So let me quickly jump to the session again. So now what our goal was to make the monthly payments to the 1500, right? And we don't know the steps to reduce the loan amount. So what we can do is we will go and take help from the what if analysis goal seek feature. So I will click on goal seek feature, and this is very simple. Try to understand it. We have three fields. Number one field is the set sale. Okay, so we need to set the sell of a monthly payment, which is in B6, to negative 1500. Why negative 1500? Because it's a cash outflow. So whenever cash is going, uh, it's shown in the negative, right? So it's a cash outflow. We need to set B6 to minus 1500 by changing cell. So we will define which variable we need to change. So we are more interested to change the loan amount uh, to set the goal to 1500 as a monthly payment. So when I press OK, so you can see that within few seconds, I got my new loan amount, which is 67,433 if I pay 1500 as a monthly payment, right? For example, if you pay more, for example, if you can pay 3000 as your monthly payment and you want to know that how much loan you can acquire from a bank, so you can also do this by a goal seek. Same method, we will go to what if analysis, click on goal seek. Now we need to set the value to 3000, and we will pick a variable which is the loan amount, and in our case the cell is B3. So very quickly it gives us the accurate amount, which is 1,34,865, so that we can pay monthly payment as a 3000 for next 5 years, 12% interest. Okay, so this was first example of the goal seek. In this situation, we know our goal, but we don't know how many guesses we have to make. That's why we use this what if analysis goal seek. Example number two. So now in the example number two, we have a quantity of books which is 150. We have 150 books. Selling price, definitely we want to sell these books, so the selling price is 200. Cost is 140 per unit, and we need to calculate profit first. So calculating a profit is not a big deal. It's a simple mathematical equation. We need to first sum up the selling price and then minus the costing of all the books. So let me write a formula here. So what I will do, I will select the selling price, which is 200 F4, multiplying it with the books quantity. Okay, and then minus with the cost. The cost of per unit is 140, which is an F5, and multiplying it with the quantity of books. So I will get the profit of 9,000. So after selling 150 books at a unit price of 200, I can get a profit of 9,000. Now I think that the profit is very less, and I need to increase the profit. So my goal is that I need a profit of 13,000. So in this case, we know our goal, but we don't know that how many guesses we need to make sure that we need to change our variable, which is the selling price. So we will take the help of goal seek here. So what we will do, we will go to the what if analysis, goal seek, and we need to set cell F6 to the value, which is 13,000, which is the goal we have identified, and we will pick a cell as a variable by changing it. So we will pick a sell price of per unit, and you can see that if we sell the book in 226 rupees, so we can get ultimately a profit of 13,000, right? So this is how you can use the goal seek in your reports, or a kind of a situation where when you know your target but you don't know how many guesses you need to perform on one variable. So if you are clear with this topic, kindly write yes in the chat window so that we will move towards the data table. Okay, so now I am getting a feedback. Thank you so much. So now we will be moving towards the data table. That what is the difference in the data table? Okay. So now here is an example. Again, the same example which I am carrying forward from the goal seek to the data table now. The data table explanatory defined itself that we will be creating a kind of a table, row wise and a column wise, and we need to fetch some of the amounts from that data table. And I will let you know the current and the most modern dynamic technique of the array functions as well. And if you are using Excel 365 with a subscription model, so that you can use the array features and the array functions as well. And now they are dynamically changing the practices in the industry with related to the financial models as well. So we have two classes of Excel users in the industry right now: the one who are using the traditional old Excel, and the one who have the Office 365 and the Excel 365 subscription, in which they can get the Excel latest features and the functions available. They can make their work very easily in minimum time. So we will discuss the both scenarios, and we will know that what is a data table. So kindly listen it very carefully. What is a data table? Let me just give you the conceptual side first. So the Excel data tables allows you to review how changing certain values in your formula will affect the results of the formulas. So in one operation, you can produce multiple versions of your calculations and have the results layout in the tabular form in your worksheet, and which enables you to easily view and compare the various results. So generally in Microsoft Excel, you can create either with one variable data table or a two variable data table, depending on whether you want to test the effect of alternating one or two variables. So quickly concluding that a one variable data table can be used with numerous formulas, but a two variable data can have only one formula. And I will show you right now in this example. So let's discuss this example. We have a loan amount of 1 lakh, interest rate of 12%, number of periods in years is 5, and we need to drive the monthly payment, which I have already told you earlier. I will quickly calculate the monthly payment first. Okay. So now let's say if I calculate a monthly payment, in which I need to make sure that the rate should be monthly, so I am dividing it by 12. My number of periods should be monthly, so I'm multiplying it by 12, and present value. Okay, so I got my monthly payment as a negative because it's a cash outflow, right? Now I need, might be possible later on, I need to have two variables analysis as a data table, and I need to look with a different perspective that if I get a loan of 50,000 for the 3 years, how much will be the monthly payment? If I get a loan of 1,25,000 for the 15 years, how much will be the monthly payment? Now there are so many different situations we need to see all together. In that kind of situation, I can create a data table. Okay. Now, but there is a limitation of a data table, and I will show you that how you can create a data table. So for example, if I have created an array, you can see there is a column wise number of years has been plotted: 3, 5, 8, 10, and 15. And as a row wise, I have put it some of the amounts, loan amount 50,000, 75,000, and so on. So for example, if I need to calculate all these different situations monthly payments all together, I can use the data table. So for example, if I select this entire range, I will go to data and I will click on data table. So when you click on data table, there are only two fields you need to input the cell. You need to define the input cell, row wise and the column wise. Now how you will identify that which cell will be added in the raw input cell and which cell will be added in the column input cell, right? So this is very easy. Let me explain you. The raw wise contains the amounts of the loan. On the raw number 2, we have multiple different number of loan amounts. So raw wise, we will pick a cell which contains the original amount of that situation, which is 1 lakh rupees in B2. In the column input cell, you can see different number of years. So we will pick cell B4 as an original example number of year in this data table as a column field, and I will press OK. When I press OK, it generates 0 everywhere. And this was the limitation which I needs to tell you that how to overcome this. As the data table did not find the any connectivity of a single monthly payment within this array. Okay, so there is a limitation is that I need to either copy paste or cut paste. I can cut and paste, control X for the cut and control E for the paste. I need to move this output cell to here on D2. And now when I select this range and when I will go to the data table in the raw input cell, original amount of the loan, in the column input cell, the number of years. And when I click OK, so now you can see here with a one click, you have a different loan payment amounts of different time periods and a different loan amounts, right? And we can verify as well if the loan is 1 lakh rupees for the 5 years, you can see that here is the answer which we were trying to do. So data table can set on the two different variables on a different kind of situations where you can quickly fetch the multiple results of your numbers, of your required numbers, right? So there was a limitation that I need to put this Pmt function, which is the monthly payment function, with this array. If I remove this function and put it anywhere on the spreadsheet, the data table will not be created. So this is the default structure we need to follow, okay, but for creating a data table. But now what we are doing is, and what we have in Office 365 subscription is, let me show you. So we have the dynamic array available, which can replace the data table as well. So for example, if I write a function, which is the payment, so I need a rate, right? So for getting a rate, what I can do is I will go to B3, divide by 12 to make it a monthly rate, then number of time periods. So here we have a number of time periods, different time periods, okay? But we need to make it a monthly because these time periods are yearly basis, 3, 5, 8, 10, 15. So to make it a monthly, what I can do is multiplying this whole range by 12. All right. Then it says define the present values. So we have a multiple present values presented as a row wise, and I will close this function. So as soon as I close this function, you can see that without that limitation and with the help of an array formula, dynamic array formula, now it's possible to create a data table. As we see in the above example, we have a limitation to switch the result output within this array, but here we can do independently, right? And these kind of utilities, dynamic arrays, can be only applied when you have the Office 365 Excel 365 subscription. But as a traditional user, you need to follow this kind of a limitation. But I hope that this feature is also very much helpful in the financial models. So if we are done with this, kindly write yes in the chat window, then we can move towards the last part of the webinar. Okay, so let's come to the scenario manager, that how scenario manager will be helping us in developing different kind of a scenario. So I have one example which states about the quantity, which is 1000, price per unit which is 80, the fixed cost which is 5000, and the variable cost per unit which is 30. And I have calculated the profit. So I can show you the formula that how I have the calculated profit. If you understood that how profit is calculated, kindly write yes in the chat window, that so that we can proceed further. I don't think so the calculating profit will be a big deal for you. It's a simple mathematical calculation, multiplying per unit selling price and the cost and subtracting it with the quantity. So if you understand this profit formula, then kindly write yes in the chat window. All right, thank you for the feedback. So let's come to the scenario manager. Okay, so first listen it very carefully. So I am describing the conceptual side of the scenario manager, that how and when you have to utilize the scenario manager. Okay, so basically scenarios are another of Excel what if analysis tool, and we know about it, and which like the data tables as well. And when I will switch to the example practically, so you can get an idea that how it can be utilized. And also we have some very good features in the scenario manager as well. So scenarios are basically like different versions of the same worksheet models, and which each version using a different set of input values. We can define different input values, more than two even, which was not in the case of Google Seek and the data table, right? And before creating a scenario, you need to construct your model on the worksheet and decide which cells to be the input cells or the changing cells. So we need to very carefully define them. Okay, and to make it easier, you create scenarios to make the resulting summary reports more comprehensible. Okay, so let's quickly jump to the scenario practically, and we will be creating three different scenarios which are already written on your screen, that is base, present, and the best. Okay, let's start. So for applying the scenario manager, what we need to do is we will go to the data tab, what if analysis, and we will click on scenario manager. Okay, so there will be a dialog window of scenario manager will appear on your screen, and we have some multiple options available, and I will try to explain it. So the first, as by default there is no scenarios has been created, so first we need to create a scenario. So for doing that, we need to click on add button. Okay, so when we click on add button, first field is saying us that define the name of the scenario. So let's say first we define the base scenario. Okay, the second field says which cells you need to change in this scenario. So I need to change two cells. The first one is price per unit, that's the selling price, and the second one is variable cost per unit, because fixed cost will remain the same. So I would like to change cell B4, and if you want to change multiple cells, you have to add comma space and then select the next cell. Okay, and I will come to this protection side which says the prevent changes in the hide. I will discuss this later on after I will finish this example, that when we can use this prevent changes in the hide option in the scenario manager. But first let me quickly review. First we define the name of the scenario, then the changing cells. Okay, so we are in our case we need to change two cells, and I will press OK. So when I press OK, the scenario values screen now appear, and on those two cells I need to set a value. So for example, I need to set price per unit to a lower side, which is 70. For example, my new value will be 70 of price per unit, and my variable cost per unit will be 25 in the base scenario. Okay, and I will click OK. So now you can see that you have a base scenario available on your spreadsheet. Okay, now we will add two more scenarios, which is the present and the best one. So for the present, again I will click on add button. I will define a name to it, and I need to change these two cells B4 and B6, which is absolutely right, and I will press OK. So for the present scenario, definitely we will go with the present prices, which are price per unit 80 and variable cost per unit is 30. So now we have two scenarios, and then we have the last scenario, which is the best scenario. So we will again click on add button. We will define the name of the scenario. Definitely we want to change the B4 and B6 in our case, but remember that in your case, if you are working on a P&L or any other kind of a report, you might have more than two or three variable as well. Okay, So now in the best scenario, I need to increase the price per unit, which will be 120, and the variable cost per unit will be. Now we have three different cases: base, present, and the best. Now the awesome part of this utility scenario manager is, for example, if your manager says, convert this entire data into the best scenario, I need to analyze this current scenario in the best scenario. So as we know, we have already defined the best scenario variables within this scenario manager feature. So what we can do is, I will just click on best and I will click on show button. So as soon as I click on show button, as you can see that on the back end, price per unit and the variable cost per unit changes. And ultimately we can see that if company can go with the best scenario, it can earn a profit of 65,000. Now later on, if the manager says, what if we go for the base case? So I will click on base and I will click on show. So if the company goes with the best base scenario case, definitely the profit will reduce or decrease, right? So ultimately, we can change the scenarios one by one, okay, in the scenario manager. But what if we have created three different scenarios and we need to see all them together? We need to see all them together in a different spreadsheet. So yes, we have that option available as well. So you can see there is an option called summary. When I click on summary, and it gives me two options: either create a scenario summary or create a pivot table of the scenario. So first we will try to create a scenario summary and I will press OK. So as soon as I create a scenario summary, you can see that on one spreadsheet we can see three different scenarios at one time, right? Now there is one limitation, or might be your question comes in. You can say, Rahim sir, instead of this b4, b6, and b7, I need the names of these variables, because I can't see the names here, and I need to either I need to link manually. No, that's not the case. If this kind of situations comes in where you see the absolute cell references, and instead of these cell references you need to get the names of the line items, so let me tell you a quick technique and we will improve our scenario summary sheet. For doing that, for getting a names in the scenario summary sheet, what you need to do is, basically you need to give the names to these cells, and there is a concept called named ranges. I hope that some of you have an idea that what are name ranges. Basically we define a name ranges, we give a name of our own choice in Microsoft Excel. It can be related to one cell, it can be related to multiple arrays as well. So for giving a quickly name to a cell, there are multiple ways to do it. The first way is go to the name box, type the name manually. The second way is go to the formulas tab, and from the name manager you can define a name of that cell. But let me show you one very good technique, giving multiple cells names within a second. Okay, so defining all the cell names, giving them names, what I will do is I will select this entire range, okay, these 4 lines, and I will go to formulas tab. I will click on create from selection, and here from the create from selection window I will select left column. Now why I am choosing the left column here, because these cells will be defined names, but those names will be picked by the left column. Okay, so this 1000 cell, which is b3, will be given a name which is called quantity from the left side. So all the names are presented on the left side. That's why we are choosing left column. So that this means all these 4 number cells will be defined a name from the left side. Okay, and when I press OK, and then I will go to the name manager, you can see that within seconds all these 4 cells has got their names, right? Now let's see if I create a scenario manager now. So instead of those absolute cell references, could we find out the names, proper names or not? So for doing that, what we can do is we will go to the data tab, what if analysis, and we will click on scenario manager, and we know that we have already defined 3 scenarios. So I will quickly jump to the summary part and I will click on OK. So now as you can see that price, instead of B4, it's giving us price per unit. Instead of B5, it's giving us variable cost per unit, a proper name of the report. Okay, a proper name of the report. Now, why B7 is being allocated here? Because I have not defined the cell profit here. For example, if I define the cell B7 into a profit name, and when I regenerate the summary, this will also not show. Okay. Right? If we do it, data tab, what if analysis, scenario manager, and a summary. So now as you can see that whatever names we will be defining for those cells will appear in the scenario summary spreadsheet. Okay. Now the last part of this webinar, and I'm going quickly because we have another webinar at 4 regarding the SPSS. So that's why I have choose this short webinar technique for the power learning hours regarding to the what if analysis. So the last thing which is remaining for our this webinar is that you have seen two features which is called prevent and hide. And then we will be using those features, right? So prevents users from modifying the scenario at a later date, a later time. This will only take effect when the worksheet is protected. So it happens that when you share a financial model with someone else, you protected the sheet. So you don't want to prevent the changes of your scenarios, right? In that case, you use the prevent changes. And about the hide prevents the user from being able to see the scenario when the workbook is open. So that's how you can hide the scenario from the user as well. Okay, that's all from my part for this webinar, and I hope you find it useful that how we can use the goal seek data table and the scenario manager in different kind of financial models and the reports. It's all depends on the situation, on the data which you are using, and I hope you will be able to follow the exercise file which I will share after this webinar. So thank you so much for joining this webinar, and for those who have been registered for the next webinar, we will see you at 4 inshallah. Thank you.